pages, including 102.7 WMOM and Hot Country Hits 99.9. Also, we're streaming it at YouTube and over your channels, 102.7 WMOM and Hot Country Hits 99.9. The smart devices. Erin, we're pretty much covering everything this morning.
You got it all covered. We've talked about it all between two stations and everything going on in the world.
Absolutely. Welcome to it. I think this is the first time for you to be on our new sister station, Hot Country Hits 99.9, and hearing a lot of good things out there. I just run into people all the time. They're like, hey, I love the country music. And we also talk with special guests here on the air on the radio stations as well, including Erin Doan from State Farm Insurance. And what's happening in your neck of the woods, by the way, these days?
Well, I think we're just obviously enjoying the summer and staff members getting vacation, but it is our busy time of the year. A lot of people don't realize that aren't from the area that when you come up north, this is super busy for us, even in the professional services and other things like that, that we actually, when it's beautiful out in here and you're enjoying the beautiful weather, we are really busy, and that's very common. We're used to it, and we love it.
I believe it. Insurance, a busy topic or an important topic to make sure that you have in your life. You don't ever want to go without insurance on your vehicles if you are driving them around, right? I mean, and I know that sounds like common sense, but there's the difficulty of sometimes rising rates. People living paycheck to paycheck. Sometimes forgetfulness happens. I mean, that's out there, but it is kind of the worst of the worst, right?
Yeah, I think one of the things to realize is that this can put you behind significantly more. It's looking at things catastrophically versus probability. I think when we get in these darn hard times where we're trying to pay our bills and make really, really tough choices, is, you got to put insurance about number 4. You just do. You got to be able to eat. You got to have a place to put your head, and make sure you have it, obviously in the winter, you heat and cooling, electricity, but insurance has got to be right there. And I get it. It's super tough. So I think what we encourage people to do, Chris, is really get into the point of like, okay, what coverage do we absolutely have to have for medical if we get hurt in a car accident? And if unfortunately we really hurt somebody else. And those are really the two big ones at the end of the day, is to make sure those are covered.
Absolutely. And when we get into the summer months, we like to bring out our recreational vehicles, our four-wheelers and bikes and dirt bikes and boats and everything else. And this morning we're talking about boater safety and insurance, because Erin, before we even put that boat in the water, we want to activate or reinstate our boat insurance, right? Do we have boat insurance on 12 months out of the year, or is it truly when it gets warmer?
It's pretty common. It depends on the boat and the person and kind of what their budget will allow. I to be honest, I've seen a lot of people keep it on year round. A lot of the policies, if the boat's under 20 feet long, which a lot of our inland lakes have, then, they're keeping it on year round. It's, a couple, $200-$300 a year. And they just say it's more of a hassle to rewrite it or put it on their policy back and forth. And a lot of people nowadays have automated payments for their car insurance monthly. So it's just part of their budget that they know, hey, I know my boat's covered. I don't want to accidentally not have coverage on it if, especially for boats that, they could be $3,000, $4,000, $5,000, and to just not have them covered because a tree falls on it or their barn or whatever, or even if they have it outside next to their barn catches on fire. If you don't have your boat insured, you don't have coverage. I mean, there's very minimal coverage coming from the homeowners. Most policies, State Farm's homeowners policies allows $1,500 for the boat. But boy, if it's any nicer of a boat, better than a kayak, and even kayaks are now more than $1,500 brand new. Some of these nicer fishing kayaks.
Yep. What about when somebody says, well, that's just my fishing boat.
Yep.
Paddles, the running the motor engine, the engine. which I'm having a blank.
You're good. You're good.
Thanks. But it's got some years on it. Do we really have to insure that or not?
You wouldn't. I see. Here's where the difference can be is when you get into what we call CCs or horsepower. Once you get above 25 horsepower, you're dealing with a little bit more of a significant boat. So in terms of safety, you get into let's say 40 or 50 horsepower. Not super strong, but it can be for a smaller boat, and that's where insurance companies like State Farm go, okay, that's becoming more of a liability risk. And really, it's not so much necessarily about physical damage for the boat. It's more of, man, if I hit somebody, if somebody falls out of the boat, and we're going a certain speed, and really that 20 greater than 25 horsepower is really where that crossover line becomes. So you've got a little 9.9 Yamaha on the back of your boat in the little fishing boat, and it's 20 years old. That's up to you, right? I mean, you have $1,500 of coverage from your homeowners that'll cover that boat. But that's the extent of it. So just be aware of that.
All right. Good information. If you're just joining us, we're talking with Erin Doan from Erin Doan State Farm Insurance here on 102.7 WMOM and Hot Country Hits 99.9. You can watch this segment on either one of our Facebook pages as well as our YouTube channel. Let's talk about some steps leading up. And I know we're in the middle of the summer, but some people, like me, I haven't had a chance to get out on the lake, but we want to get our boat checked first. And what are we looking at when checking out the boat before taking it out from an insurance standpoint so we don't run into any issues and stuff?
Yeah, I think the motor is one element that I think is really important. There's definitely a lot of boats that don't have backup motors. The bigger the boat, the more you have a backup motor and a way to get back to shore. But definitely want to make sure that if you're not a mechanic, to have that fully inspected, to get the oil changed, to make sure the spark plugs are doing great. I mean, that can be part of safety, just getting back to shore, especially on the big lake. There's definitely people on a super calm day. They're going to take a lot smaller boat than normally would go out on Lake Michigan, but a storm can come up, as we know, like happened this morning, and all of a sudden things change. So I would say beyond that, you're talking about the hull, looking for cracks, looking for damage. You're opening up your cabinets and you're kind of just taking a good close inspection before you get it out on the water. And if you need somebody to help you, there's a lot of really, really good, boat companies in our community here in Ludington and all of West Michigan that can just do a good inspection for you, just to make sure everything is safe before you put that boat physically in the water.
You've been doing this for how many years now?
20 years now, 20 year.
Have you ever had a boat, major claim, or some boat that sank and it's like, okay, we got to deal with this?
Yeah, we've had a sinking boat before. We've actually had somebody hit a log in the water going on the water, in fact, in Pere Marquette Lake, where they hit a log. We actually just recently down in Muskegon had one of our customers have boat in storage, and the storage facility on one part of it caught on fire and created a bunch of soot and smoke that actually went to the boats. Didn't catch, thank goodness, all the boats on fire, but all that extreme damage from that soot, landed on the boat and paying those claims. In fact, they had two really nice boats that we had insured, and we had to go through the process in those claims and really helping them recover, to get those boats cleaned back up. In fact, one of them was totaled because the soot got so deep into the materials of the boat that they had to literally total the boat.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we have talked in the past about car repairs and vehicle repairs and the time it takes to get those back on the road. Is it similar if we have a boat accident? Are we talking, hey, this season is out, we're not going to get a replacement until next season? What's that like?
It just really depends. If you're getting a total loss check, then there's boats available, right? There's boats that you find on Marketplace or a lot of the dealers. So, Chris, it really just depends. If you're waiting for some materials or, somebody to get to the boat, I can tell you that, a lot of these guys are really backed up. But it just depends on time of year. As we get closer toward the end of the season, they actually have a little bit more time than they did a month or two ago. So you got a chance to getting back out, and especially around here, September is so unbelievably beautiful to be on the water with your boat. So you do have a bit of a chance, depending on what materials, what parts we're talking about to get you back on the road or on the water.
Absolutely. Do you think that taking a boater safety course is important when it comes to that insurance or what could happen on the water?
I think so. I'll be honest. I have a pontoon boat and it's 115 horse, and I think it would be good. The one thing that's definitely helped me is having family with boats and being on those boats and actually helping, drive over the years and just understanding better about what, kind of the rules of the water are. But I've been thinking more recently that, I should take that to be more informed and to understand more. Maybe there's some safety elements I don't really understand, even though I don't go on the big lake. I think unequivocally, if you're going to be consistently on Lake Michigan, without a doubt, I would take that boater safety class. I wouldn't even question it. So if you're getting to that point where you're going to get a bigger boat on Lake Michigan, or you're literally going to get a boat and go down that path, I would seriously consider signing up, and taking the boater safety class for sure.
All right. And we've talked about this in the past. And by the way, if you're just joining us, Erin Doan, State Farm Insurance, in with us this morning. And Erin, we've talked about during the wintertime to have a list or not only a checklist of things that you should have in your vehicle from a safety standpoint, or if something happens. But same thing with having a boat safety equipment checklist and having those items as well.
Yeah, fire extinguisher, absolutely. A horn, absolutely. Whistle, some of those things, you have to have, which most people who get a boat and kind of get educated on this, they have to have a preserver for everybody that's legal to be on the boat. Mm-hmm. Don't ever have more people than what your boat can carry. It'll say it right on the label, how many people, and please just, that is a big one to adhere to is, how many people you have on the boat.
Yeah.
And so those are a few of the items for sure that you want to definitely have on the boat.
And State Farm gives us a few more to add to that list, including charts of the local area, compass, the anchor and extra line, toolkit for repairs. You'd mentioned that a few moments ago, that we're not all mechanics, but sometimes it may be a minor fix.
Crescent wrench or pliers, right? Screwdriver.
Paddles, just in case that motor goes out. Let's see, a flashlight, spare batteries, first aid kit, bucket. I don't know how many of us.
Bail.
Absolutely. Yeah. I'm like,
okay, here we go.
Yep. And maybe some food and water just in case you are out there for a while. So additional clothing if you get cold and you need to get changed there, and some personal items, sunscreen, medicines, sunglasses, and such. So State Farm really making sure that that people are prepared when they are out wanting to have fun, right?
Yeah, I think it's really great that State Farm has that position, as being a good neighbor, being in that space of educating consumers, how to be safe. And I've had people say, well, hold on, isn't that in your best interest? And we're like, yeah, I guess, in terms of not having more claims. But let's put it this way. Isn't it better for us to help you and share with you for your family, for your safety, and have some of those things? So I really like that State Farm, is known as a leader definitely in educating people and helping them be safe. And they do a great job at statefarm.com. They really do.
And it's great. Let's run down, before we wrap up, with Erin Doan from Erin Doan State Farm Insurance, some boating basics. And I know you've covered a lot of these, but just be aware of the weather. We saw those pop-up thunderstorms. We actually just saw some thunderstorms developing for the Manistee County and Benzie County this morning, and that wasn't on the radar at all. And that's what happens over Lake Michigan. Dress for the water temps, so know that. Point an assistant skipper, right? And you brought that up a moment ago, just having other family members and friends know how to drive those boats, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's definitely helpful. You just never know when you might slip. You think about it, it's wet conditions, and whether a storm pops up or not, just having somebody else to understand how the boat mechanics work, and they may not be familiar with it, but just to give them a quick rundown, it's just really good, smart practice to have a family member or friend understand the basic mechanics in case something does happen to you as the captain, for sure.
For sure. And here's another couple of things. Leave a float plan, which I didn't think about, and that is, telling somebody on land where you're going to be out on the water. You might be boating by yourself or just a few friends or others, but having that time frame and location, that's kind of important too, right?
Yeah, I think, if you kind of put it this way, look at the worst case scenario, and it's hard to, right? But I think if you just kind of say, when we get out on the water, right before we're getting on the water, let's just have a quick little huddle. And you think about this, how important this can be with family or in business, bringing the team together, bringing the family together and having just a conversation about anything in life, just a quick little, gathering. Like, I think when we have food together and we're celebrating a holiday, we get all the whole family together, like, okay, here's the spread we've got, here's the food, here's where we go through, enjoy. If you need anything, let us know. And I think doing that while we're having fun and being out on the water in a boat is really going to help that experience. So let's just say that somebody on land didn't know, right? And, you hit a log in the water and everybody is out of the boat and the motor in the boat keeps going. Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's a scary moment, absolutely. Chris, right there. So sure. just be aware of that people know where you're at roughly in terms of where you're going, so that they, don't hear from you, don't know from, what's going on. They can actually come and find you and give you assistance.
And when we're out on the lake, we like to jump in, swim a little bit there. Yep. Another tip that is brought up is protect against propeller strikes. And that means making sure that you take a checklist of everybody, a check of everybody that's back on the boat before you start that engine, right?
I think a lot of people, what I've noticed now that I've had a boat and had this pontoon, in our little lake here in Mason County is, put the boat in neutral, right? Okay. Well, no. I think definitely you put the boat in neutral, but turn the motor off. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So that seems like common sense, mm-hmm. but I think that's often forgotten. And so let's just put that into play. Again, hard. I'm an insurance guy. I talk about worst case scenarios. Somebody accidentally bumps, the accelerator, the throttle, just actually hits that lever and it goes forward, mm-hmm. or worse, backward, and somebody's getting into the boat. Yeah. So those are what we're trying to really avoid, Chris. Just anybody listening, turn the motor right off. Go ahead and put it neutral. Turn it right off.
All right, good points there. Yeah. A couple more before we wrap up. Be aware of carbon monoxide. Want to make sure that, and that's part of checking out your boat, mm-hmm. And everything else. If your boat capsizes, stay with it as much as possible. That's it's much better to see a large object on the lake than you trying to swim somewhere. Stay with that boat as much as possible. And then obviously, just like not driving under the influence, we don't want to boat under the influence either, do we?
No, absolutely not.
All right. Erin Doan from State Farm Insurance. Erin, boater insurance, you'd mentioned this a little while ago, but obviously it's going to depend on the individual. But insurance doesn't cost a lot to make sure that our recreational fun tools are going to be protected from all of this as well as us, right?
Yeah, I mentioned earlier that a good starter number to look at from an annual basis, $200-300 for some of your smaller boats to insure them for the entire year. Okay. Which could include definitely liability and in a lot of cases physical damage too.
All right, sounds good. We appreciate you coming in.
Thanks, Chris.
And talking about this. And if anybody missed this segment, you can watch it on our Facebook pages, 102.7 WMOM and Hot Country Hits 99.9. Our YouTube channel as well. Make sure you check that out. And of course, we didn't cover everything in regards to boater safety this morning, but some of it is common sense. Some of it is, as you mentioned, just having that conversation with your family members and friends and just kind of brainstorming together to make sure that everybody is safe. Right, Erin?
Absolutely. I think a great place to go is statefarm.com, mm-hmm. and go ahead and do a search for boats, and you'll get a lot of great information. It's worth the effort and the time, no matter what insurance company you have. If we can help you ever, we'd love to. Give us a call. My office is located on US 10 here in Ludington. We service all over the state in terms of insurance policies, but we'd love to help you out at Erin Doan State Farm.
All right, sounds good. And that phone number that people can call you at, what is that?
That number is 231. That's our area code, and it's 757-3115. 757-3115. All right, sounds good. We appreciate you, Erin, coming in. Erin Doan, State Farm Insurance. It's 8:41 now on 102.7 WMOM and Hot Country Hits 99.9.
as we release Hot Country Hits 99.9. And Erin, we will talk with you soon back here in the studio. We appreciate you coming in.
I appreciate it, Chris.
You got it. It is 102.7 Mom FM. Coming up this hour, music on the way from Alessia Cara as well as Ed Sheeran. Stick around. It's up next on Mom FM.
Troy, can we keep the Bitches RV Customer Appreciation Month sale going longer?